Locked On Islanders here. The Islanders make a curious contract extension signing. Two Islanders are honored by the AHL Hall of Fame, and we've got a very special Islanders birthday of the day, a player who made a big difference during the team's first playoff run. All that and a lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Locked On Islanders podcast. So glad you could join us today, and thanks, everybody, for making Locked On Islanders your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. And that, by the way, also includes YouTube now. So if you want to watch this podcast instead of just listening to it, check us out on YouTube. Just do a search for Locked On Islanders. We have got a lot to discuss on today's show. We have our weekly farm report, which we do almost every Wednesday during the season. We'll fill you in on everything happening with the Bridgeport Islanders. We've also got a curious contract extension signed by a member of the team. A couple of Islanders or former Islander greats recognized by the AHL Hall of Fame, and a very key component of the Islanders' first playoff run. He will be our Islanders' birthday of the day today. If you've got something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, or a topic that you'd like us to discuss, feel free to email the show. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we talk about whatever it is that's on your mind. You could also follow the show on Twitter @LockedOnIsles. And you could follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter @IceWars, NYRVSNYI. And we'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings. One of those happenings, by the way, taking place on Tuesday, the Islanders announced that they had signed forward Ross Johnston to a 4-year contract extension worth $1.1 million cap hit per year over the life of that contract. And I got to say, I was a little bit surprised at this point. Nothing against Ross the Boss. I like Johnston. He's a useful player in his own way. So far, played one game for the Islanders, didn't see a lot of ice time, and then, rode the bench after that one game. He is probably the 14th forward, 13th or 14th forward on this team right now. But, here is a guy who they're signing to this lengthy extension. He's 27 years old. You know what Ross Johnston gives you. He will dig for pucks in the corners. He is physical. He will forecheck well. And he's a fourth line guy. Maybe he can take one game here and there on the third line, but realistically, Ross Johnston is a fourth line guy. And at the age of 27, what he is right now is what he's going to be. Ross Johnston is he's a fringe NHLer, and that's no disrespect to Ross Johnston. He is a black ace on this team for a reason. And look, the Islanders are one of the better teams in the league. If the Islanders were a below average team or a bad hockey team, he's still a fourth liner, maybe a regular fourth liner on a below average or bad hockey team. But with Ross Johnston, that's what he is. And he is the kind of a guy who, is still willing and able to drop the gloves and protect his teammates. But that role is called upon less and less in the NHL here in 2021. In 1985, 1995, every team would have one or more guys like Ross Johnston. Now, a lot of teams don't have a guy like Ross the Boss, or they have one. It's sort of a dying thing. And look, 15 points total in 87 games, 7 goals, 8 assists. Here's the reason I'm critical of this signing. Nothing against Ross Johnston. Good in the locker room. Does play his role reasonably well. But when you're looking at the cap situation, and we know this is an Islanders team that is up against the cap, that doesn't have a lot of cap room, you can get a player to play Ross Johnston's role on this team for the minimum or very close to it. Instead of paying $1.1 million AAV to sign Ross Johnston, you can call up somebody from Bridgeport or sign a free agent for half that money, let's say, $600,000, $700,000. You can get someone on an entry-level deal who will play a similar role on your team and save you a little bit of cap space as well. Now, Johnston is 27, so at the end of this contract, he'll be, 31, 32. This will take him through the rest of the prime of his career, but in my mind, not a bad signing, but just not a necessary. And on Ross Johnson, elsewhere, not even safe halfway. We'll see. Ross Johnston game schedule. Ross Johnston's only going to play 15, 20 games a year. Strike, maybe you up that number 30 or 35, but you're paying a lot of money for a guy when you could pay somebody else less. And to me, that's why this move is a little bit questionable. Now, some honors handed out by the AHL Hall of Fame. They announced their Hall of Fame class of 2020. Two people who are affiliated with the Islanders organization are going to be honored. Keith Aucoin, going to be inducted, as is former Islanders general manager Gil Torrey. Torrey, of course, built the dynasty teams that won Stanley Cups from 1980 to 1983 and 19 consecutive playoff series. Torrey, already in the Hockey Hall of Fame, passed away, 3 years ago already, 2018, at the age of 83. And now Torrey, in addition to being recognized for the Islanders, going to be recognized for what he did in the AHL. And he was with the Pittsburgh Hornets back in 1961 as their publicity director. And, in addition to working for the Islanders and then the Florida Panthers, he also was on the AHL Board of Governors and a member of the AHL Hall of Fame Selection Committee, starting back in back in 2006. Meanwhile, for Aucoin, he was an Islander back in 2012, 2013, 12 points in 41 games, but really a great AHL player, even if he never was a standout in the NHL. Played with the Lowell Lock Monsters back in 2001, 2002, played 769 games over parts of 13 seasons in the AHL, and went on to have 857 points in those games. When he retired, he was the 7th leading scorer in AHL history. So congratulations to both Keith Aucoin and, of course, to Gil Torrey. They are being honored by the AHL Hall of Fame, as are Nolan Baumgartner and Dave Creighton. So congratulations are in order for both of them. We have got more to discuss on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. We will have our weekly farm report, check in on what's happening in Bridgeport. We've got our Islanders birthday of the day as well. More to come on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Do you know that Built Bar has so many delicious flavors? There really is something for everyone. And when you talk to a Built Bar fan, they're definitely passionate about their favorites. And it's easy to tell why. Listen to these 9 permanent flavors: coconut, mint brownie, strawberry, German chocolate, cookies and cream, and my personal favorite, salted caramel. When it's sweet and salty at the same time, I find that hard to resist. And if you haven't tried all the flavors, you can order a mixed box. You'll get 2 of each of the 9 permanent flavors, so you can figure out which ones are your favorites. And not only are Built Bar flavors the best tasting, they're healthy too. Check out these macros. Each bar has between 17 and 18 grams of protein, only 130 to 180 calories, just 4 to 5 grams of sugar, and 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty, all healthy. And Built Bar is the official protein bar of the U.S. track and field team. Go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCK15, and you'll get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. We want to thank everyone for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Time now for our weekly farm report, and it's always great to talk a little Bridgeport Islanders. And I'll tell you, it was a busy week for Bridgeport, and they did pretty well, all things considered. Got off to a rough start on the road Friday of last week, losing to the Springfield Thunderbirds by a score of 3-1. Islanders took the lead on a goal by Grant Hutton, his first goal of the year. Springfield 1 goal in the second period and 2 in the third to come back and win that game by a score of 3-1. Then on Saturday, the Islanders had their home opener at the Webster Bank Arena in Bridgeport, and they get an overtime win over the Springfield Thunderbirds. Score 4-3. Robin Salo scoring 4 minutes and 10 seconds into overtime. Islanders earning that comeback win. They were down 3-1 after 2 periods and end up earning the win. So that was a great way to have the home opener. And then on Sunday of this week, the Islanders hosting the Laval Rocket, and Anatoly Golashov gets 2 goals, and Jakub Skarek 37 saves. That's a busy day. That's not an easy shutout. You know, sometimes you get these 18 save shutouts, 20 save shutouts, 37 saves. That's not easy. And I'll tell you, it is very good to see Anatoly Golashov get 2 of the 3 goals for the Bridgeport Islanders, because Golashov, he's an experienced guy. He played in the KHL. He's not a kid. And for him to have 3 goals in 4 games for Bridgeport, that is a very important thing to watch. And the better he plays, the more likely the Islanders are to consider, if they need someone to contribute offensively, Golashov might be the call-up, depending, again, on if he continues to play well. Chris Terry leading Bridgeport right now with 4 goals and 5 points. And right behind him, Michael Dal-Cole. He has 2 goals, 4 points in only 4 games. Andy Andreoff has 4 points in 6 games. Arno Durando, also 4 points. Robin Salo, the defenseman, 4 points and a +3 as well. So that's always good to see. And again, for Salo, one of those guys that the Islanders may be calling upon at some point, because mobile defensemen, guys who can move the puck, they're at a premium right now for the New York Islanders, and you really want to see guys like Robin Salo produce. And even if they're not going to call him up this year, Robin Salo is a prospect. You know, you go down to the minors and you have a bunch of different people. You have your young prospects who are on their way up. You have veterans who have established themselves as sort of AHL guys. They're, you know, your team captain. They're the guys who are 29, 30, 31. They know that the AHL is most likely going to be where they're going to spend most of the rest of their career, but they're willing to continue to draw a paycheck, play professional hockey, be almost like an assistant coach, a learn by example kind of a player to help teach the young kids. And maybe they become coaches after they retire if that's sort of the direction they want to go in. And you always need that mix if you're going to have a successful minor league program. You want to win, you want to develop players. And to do that, to do both, you need prospects and veterans. And right now, for the first time in a little while, the Bridgeport, formerly the Sound Tigers, actually have both. And that is at least an managing situation. So happy to see that, and it's good news. Now, the Bridgeport Islanders have 2 home games this weekend. Saturday, 7 o'clock p.m., again, a home game against, this time, the Providence Bruins. And then Sunday afternoon, 3 in the afternoon, Halloween afternoon, the Hartford Wolfpack come to town as the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers has its AHL edition, Wolfpack against the Bridgeport Islanders. And just to make it a little bit more fun, it's Halloween at the Webster Bank Arena in Bridgeport. So both Saturday and Sunday, there'll be a costume contest, a haunted maze, trick-or-treating for the kids, and 2 hockey games, obviously. So always good to see that. And also, don't forget, if you're looking for some great family entertainment, every Sunday, kids' tickets are just $10. So, you know, that's always a good thing. Ages 11 and under get in for that price. And, you know, again, the Islanders won't be home until another 3.5 weeks down the road. You want to see tomorrow's Islanders today. Check them out as they play for the Bridgeport Islanders. Nice to see this Bridgeport team just sort of coming together. And you want to see that. You want to see this team do well. And, you know, you look at the standing, and Bridgeport has been at things for a couple of years now. It's been an Oregon that has struggled, but right now, you know, 18 the Atlantic Division, Bridgeport right now, 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 shootout losses. That gives them 6 points on the season, and again, puts them sort of in the middle of the pack. They're 5th out of 8 teams, but tied for 3rd in points with Hershey, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. Those 2 teams also have 6 points, although the Islanders have played 2 more games than them. So at least so far, it's early, but the Islanders competitive, and I think the changes we saw, bringing in some more established veterans, definitely helping in that regard. We have got more to come on this edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. When we return, we will have our Islanders birthday of the day, a few more thoughts as well. Islanders off until Saturday. We'll talk about whether or not that's going to help or hurt this team, or maybe a little bit of both. All that still to come on the Locked On Islanders podcast. We're back and better than ever. BetOnline has a new web interface for the start of the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. So head to our new updated desktop or mobile website and sign up today to receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON, one word, to receive your bonus. So yeah, they'll give you free money to bet at betonline.ag. Just use that promo code Locked On. From basketball, football, baseball postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. So head on over to BetOnline, where the game starts. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And this is, again, we're a day early right now. Thursday is going to be the 73rd birthday for former Islanders center Jude Drouin. Now, Drouin, drafted in 1966 in the third round by the Montreal Canadiens, played 12 games over 2 seasons in Montreal while spending most of his time in the minors. Canadiens were loaded back then. Then went to the Minnesota North Stars and had his first 20-goal year in 1972, 27 goals. And midway through 1974-70 season, Bill Torrey made an incredible 2 trades. They both happened a couple of days apart, but the Islanders got, in one deal, J.P. Parise. In the other deal, Jude Drouin. Both of them acquired from the Minnesota North Stars. Ernie Hickey was one of the players who went the other way in those deals, but the Islanders got the best of them. And in Drouin and Parise, they got 2 established veterans who knew how to win, and boy, did they catch fire. Drouin, in his first 40 games with the Islanders, 74-75. 40 games, 14 goals, 32 points. That put him on a pace for 28 goals over the course of a full season. And then in the playoffs that year, the first time the Islanders ever made the playoffs, Jude Drouin in 17 games had 18 points, 6 goals, 12 assists, as the Islanders shocked the Rangers in a best-of-3 series, winning Game 3 in overtime at the Garden. Shocked the Penguins after being down 3-0, came back and won 4 straight to win that series, becoming, at the time, only the second team in NHL history to overcome a 3-0 series deficit to win it. Then they fell behind to the defending Stanley Cup champion Philadelphia Flyers, 3-0, won the next 3 before finally falling in the 7th game at the Spectrum. After that, Drouin put together back-to-back 20-goal seasons for the Islanders, 21 goals in 75-76, 24 goals in 76-77. His role was diminished the following year, 77-78. Then he finished out his NHL career with a couple of seasons with expansion. It's made a difference before he was acquired. And it wasn't just, he was good on faceoffs, solid defensively, but the experience and the leadership he gave a young Islanders team that was just learning how to believe in themselves was extremely valuable. We're going to look at one of his better games with the Islanders, January 6, 1976, at the Nassau Coliseum. The Islanders and the Kansas City Scouts. Now, the Scouts then moved to Colorado after 2 years and became the Colorado Rockies. And then after 5 or 6 years in Colorado, they moved to the Meadowlands and became the New Jersey Devils. Bill McKenzie was the Scouts goalie, Billy Smith the goalie for the Islanders, and it was the Islanders getting on the board first. Billy Harris, his 17th of the year from Burt Marshall. That one came midway through the first period. 1-0 Islanders after 1. In the second period, the Islanders pour it on. Brian Trottier, his 16th from Billy Harris and Jerry Hart at 5:35. And then 31 seconds later, Clark Gillies, his 17th from Jerry Hart and Jean Potvin. Islanders quickly up 3-0. The Scouts got back into the game, Dennis Duperre, his first of the year from Jean-Guy Legacy and Gary Bergman at 11:55, made it 3-1. But then with Wilf Paymont in the box for hooking, Jude Drouin, our Islanders' birthday of the day, cashes in on the power play, his 13th from Ed Westfall and J.P. Parise. And what a line that was. That helped make the score 4-1 Islanders after 2. In the third, another power play opportunity, Dennis Patterson in the box for interference. Jude Drouin is 14th from Dennis Potvin and Ed Westfall. Then Jerry Hart gets into the act a mere 36 seconds later, his second from Brian Trottier. Then with Ken Murray in the box for elbowing, Jude Drouin completes the hat trick, his 15th goal of the year, third of the game. Parise and Westfall with the assist at 14:53. Jerry Hart adds another goal, his second of the game, third of the year, from Andre St. Laurent. Final score, Islanders 8 and the Scouts 1. Islanders had 42 shots on goal to just 22 for the Scouts. Billy Smith with 21 saves to earn the win. For our Islanders' birthday of the day, Jude Drouin, 3 goals on 6 shots. That was the most on the team. He ended up with all 3 of his goals, by the way, coming on the power play. A hat trick for Jude Drouin. We wish him all the best a day early on his birthday, and he is our Islanders' birthday of the day. This week off, I'll tell you, for the Islanders, I think it's a good thing more than a bad thing. You have 5 days in the middle of a grueling, long road trip that allows you to sort of regroup. Yeah, you don't want to lose the momentum that you were sort of building up after winning back-to-back games and 3 out of 4 toward the end of that road trip, or the first half of it. But overall, you want a little time to regroup, to get healthy, to get some practices in, to come home. So I think these games, this break between Sunday and Saturday, will be a good thing for this New York Islanders team. Thanks for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Tomorrow we'll be back. We'll break down some of the Islanders' forward lines, what's working, what's not. Now, make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Host Scott Cullen leans on his decades of fantasy hockey insight and experience every day to help you be the expert of your fantasy league. It's free and available on all platforms. Have a great day, everybody. That's an episode of the Locked On Islanders pod. Be well, stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders.